Hi guys, and today I've got for you the Volvo XC40 Recharge. Now the XC40 actually came out in 2018. I never actually reviewed it in its regular guise, but seeing how the platform is shared with the Polestar 2, which of course is the entirely electric offshoot of the Volvo brand, clearly it was always meant to be electric. Now there are petrol, diesel and hybrid versions of this car available, but this is the XC Recharge. Recharge is the nameplate that Volvo is now going to use for electric and hybrid cars within its portfolio. This is the first all-wheel drive production Volvo electric car. So how does that work? It has two electric motors, one in the front, one in the back, 78 kilowatt hour, lithium-ion battery in the floor, produces 408 brake horsepower, about 660 Newton meters of torque. That gives it 0 to 62 miles per hour acceleration in 4.9 seconds and 112 mile per hour top speed. Now Volvo claim a 256 mile range and of course the usual 40 minutes to 80% recharge using a 150 kilowatt charger. Now, this car came out in 2020, so this is a brand new car. What do they cost? Well, anywhere between 50 to 55,000. They're a little bit more pricier than the regular cars, I have to admit. They're also a little bit heavier, nearly 500 kilograms heavier than the regular car, and that of course is because of the battery. So, styling wise, the only real way that you can actually tell is that it's got this obvious blanked out grille here. Under here, there's a little bit of a luggage space. I'll show you that in a bit. And at the back, of course, there's no exhaust. Not many changes inside either, although there's a couple of significant things which I'll get into. So as usual, we'll look at the practicality, we'll look at the interior space, the features, and then of course we'll take it for a drive. And we'll do all of that right after this. Interesting color on this car. I believe it's called sage green. It's a good looking car. Recharge right there. This car is constantly reminding you through its name that it is electric and that you have to recharge it. Interesting. I think the wheels are also quite different on this car, and of course in this little compartment here, this is where you charge it up. So it's got one of those two fast charger things, so that should be interesting. I'm sure I will be charging this up soon. Like I said, good looking car. Interestingly, I did attend the reveal of this car, one of the last things I did in Dubai, but I never actually got to drive it. So this is the first time I'm actually driving this vehicle. XC40 Volvo, it's got a lot of badging. It's really keen to stress this identity, including P8 all-wheel drive Recharge right there. So power lift tailgate. The electric version of this car is very high spec as standard, so it comes with a lot of kit. 60/40 split folding rear seats there, plus a through slot as well for longer items. I have to say that considering it's electric, I don't think it's losing much space in terms of cargo capacity compared to the regular car. That looks about the same to me. And under here you have even more space. In fact, you've got quite a bit of a cavity. There is a little bit of an intrusion on this side, and I wonder if that maybe either has something to do with the batteries, or maybe that's where the motor sits that drives the rear axle. But you still have some space around here, and you could put cables and things like that there as well. There's a pocket here, hook here, and all the usual stuff that you would expect from a Volvo. Right. Time to get into the rear passenger space and see what that's like. Oh, before I get into the rear passenger space, I was going to show you the front boot, wasn't I? Now you open that from this lever here, as you normally would open the front section of the car. Of course, there is no engine under here. Over here there's a little yellow paddle. Once you click that paddle, you can open the boot, and under here you have this compartment. Open this compartment and you've got a little bit of space in there. Obviously at the moment taken up with charging cables, but if you put those in the back, you'd actually have quite a bit of space in there as well. So actually, and that's where you can fill your windscreen washer fluid. So actually, it's got, in a sense, potentially a little bit more space than a regular XC40 in terms of cargo. Right, that rear passenger compartment. Here we go. First time here in the back, and as I'm getting in, I've noticed that there's two little pockets just on the side of the seat there. That's quite handy. So there you go. This seat is set for my driving position. I'm 6'2" with long legs. So as you can see, I have no issue whatsoever with my legs. My shins just here are quite close to this hard edge here. So that might get uncomfortable over time if I need to stretch my feet out. Knee room is okay, feet room no problem at all. It's just that bit there that's a bit of a problem. So tall-legged, long-legged people, watch out, just be careful. For regular people, shouldn't be a problem. Plenty of headroom, no issue, and this of course has a big sunroof which is covered at the moment, but it's sliding and tilting as well, I believe. Nicely done, nicely textured interior finishing here. There's a light here, a hook here for your hanger to hang your clothes and stuff like that. You've got individual vents back here, so this is nicely spec'd in addition to this. And over here, you have two, but they're micro USB plugs. So you don't get the regular ones, you get the micro USB plugs. And you've got controls for rear heated seats, which this car has. Of course, Isofix Chelsea anchor points on the rear seats, but also interestingly here, there's a tether for the front. If you want to put one in the front as well, you can put the top tether there. This is an armrest with two cup holders, and of course that gives you access to the rear if you need it. So there you go. Quite nice to be back here. What's it like in the front? Let's find that out next. Here we go in the car. So you see the stereo came on there. Now, this car is buttocks operated. What I mean by that is that, I don't know if you can make out, but where the starter button should be is just a blanked out space. And that's because it knows when you are sitting in the driver's seat, and that's when the car comes on and it's ready to go. So you can, if I put it into drive, I can just go without having to do anything at all, which is an electric car. So, and there's some various noises and stuff that happen that allow you to make you aware of that. Because an electric car doesn't really need a start button, so the moment you want to go, it just goes. So very, very nice in here. It will be very familiar to Volvo drivers and particularly XC40 drivers, because everything is pretty much the same. There's a very nice textured finish here on the dash, soft touch top, nice quality, everything as you'd expect. A massive digital instrument panel here with spaced out instrumentation. So on the left there's speed, on the right you've got your gear selector and also your charge rates and stuff like that. It is giving you a kilowatt per mile indication, but it's not giving you a range. It's just giving you a percentage, a battery percentage on the bottom here. And you can change this via the, if you want the trip meters and stuff like that. How do I get the mileage range on that? Well, there's a button here. If I press the button, it doesn't change it. All it does is it puts a massive map in the middle. So that's not it either. So how do I get the mileage range? Hey Google, what is my mileage range?
You can drive for about 124 miles with the remaining charge.
So that's how you find out your mileage range. So there you go. So it's all like what they've done here. So two things, like I was going to say, were different in this car. One, that there is no starter button, and secondly, this is an Android-based operating system on this 12.3-inch screen here in the middle. So it's different from the regular Volvos, if you like. Now, does that mean you can't use your iPhone? I'm an iPhone user. It does have Android Auto, and it does have Apple CarPlay as well, so you can. If you go into the systems here, there are other ways of seeing. So you can go charging, and it will show you that. If you go into driving modes here, driving assist, you go down here, you can select one pedal, and you can select steering feel firm, so you can do that. Also, there's an off-road mode as well, and it's got pilot assist. So pilot assist is for the cruise control and safety assistance, lane keeping, and all the rest of it. Within this menu system, you also have connectivity where you can connect your phone, adjust the sound and applications and stuff like that, plus the Google area. So there's actually services for Google. So I guess if you sign into your Google account, you can use that as well. You get a camera, which is quite handy, because all you do is you press the button and you immediately get 360 camera, which I think is really sharp compared to some of the other systems I've used. I think that's one of the best ones. It's really quite crystal clear, and it gives you a very good indication all around the car. That of course also comes on when you select reverse gear. Also you can select your heated seats, both front and the steering wheel as well from here. So And that's pretty much it. So it's actually quite basic. And then of course you've got Google Maps, you've got your Spotify, Bluetooth media player, your phone, Google Assistant, car status. So you press the car status, that's just tire pressure monitor and all that sort of stuff, including the service. And the next one is the range assistant. So if you press the range assistant, it also tells you what your range is. So instead of asking Google, you can do that as well. If you do that, you get your notifications as well. So this is quite handy. It's a bit more like a phone, so a bit more what you'd be used to. There's your Stereo control, the climate is operated from here, this bottom bit here, next to the seat, so there you got all the how you want to adjust your climate and all the rest of it. Over here you do have a wireless charger because you've got the micro USBs, but you have a wireless charger here and a 12-volt power supply as well. A lot of space cavity around here. Over here you have what you would, in the old days you would have called an ashtray, but of course I think it's just a little compartment now. I suppose you could almost perch your phone in there. 2 cup holders, this is your gear lever. There are no other driving modes or anything like that, so no eco mode or anything that's often they like to have in electric cars. Big old cubby box there, including another compartment which actually is detachable, so you can actually take that box out or you can have it in there, and that just gives you another extra compartment. Or if you take it out, then you've got more space to get into there. Seating position, no problem, plenty of room for my legs. There's a footrest on the left. Elbow room, headroom, not an issue. Sunroof, of course, all lights and everything as you would expect them. All present and correct. Let's take it for a drive and see what it feels like on the go. Okay, let's give this a go. Just slide the lever back. There are no modes, like I said. I mean, there's a one pedal mode, which I've switched on because I like the one pedal mode. But there's no sports mode, no eco mode. There is an optimizer mode. So there's a mode, but all that actually does, because when you start to press it, it just says it will turn down all the climate control systems and stuff like that. So it's going to try and preserve energy from elsewhere. But it doesn't do that whole holding you back, that gloopy thing that a lot of these cars do when you put them into eco mode. But having said that, so we're regular mode, regular setup, Volvo XC40 recharge. We're on a nice stretch of road here. I'm just going to turn onto it. So let's see what it feels like, you know, just to drive it in a spirited, okay, typical electric car thing where, you know, the acceleration is pretty relentless and immediate because of course that torque is there straight away. Oh gosh, we are riding high. One thing about the visibility at the back I noticed, I should just mention whilst I remember it, is that C-pillar is massive, and plus that little kink, which from the outside looks completely unobtrusive, but from the inside you look at the rear door, and that quarter light in the rear door, that kink is kind of obstructing your view a little bit. But having said that, you've got the 360 camera and big mirrors, so it hasn't proven to be a problem so far. Although if you would like to reverse old school, as in turning your head, oh my god, as in turning your head around, then it might be a problem. So there you go, good acceleration. We are on a little bit of a bumpy road, a tight, twisty little road, but not an issue. The acceleration, to be honest, like not sports mode or anything like that, but nonetheless fast. The car is extremely grippy. This car actually shares its drivetrain with the C40 recharge as well. So as well as the Polestar 2 C40 recharge, and this is basically the same. This one is a bit higher, so I'm feeling the movement, the massive movement quite a bit, but in terms of grip and road holding, not an issue at all. It's absolutely planted, and dare I say quite enjoyable for a Volvo, and especially for a Volvo to be doing this sort of stuff. So that's all very interesting. Again, another chance to explore that acceleration, because now we're going from the side road onto a road which has a 60 limit on it, and it's always good to accelerate straight away onto this road because it's a little bit of a blind, oh god, and it is just 60's done. That's it. Already we were there, like, you know, before I even said it. So quite extraordinary, typical electric car acceleration. I wouldn't say it's the quickest of the electric cars that I've driven, but I would say it's, you know, it's right. I mean, you know, when they say 0 to 62 miles per hour and 4.9, is that, yeah, like some cars you go 5 seconds, you go, yeah, okay, 5 seconds, and this guy, yeah, definitely 4.9, no question about it, possibly even more. The steering, oh, there is another setting. You can make the steering heavy, and I've done that as well because I like to have a little bit of a heft to my steering feel. So that's quite good. And of course, when it's light, you can just do the whole, you know, one hand stuff and, you know, whirl it around and all the rest of it. But I actually like it like it is right now. Now the braking, of course, you got the regen and you got the regular brakes. Now there, when I needed the brakes a little bit from speed, I found them to not be as grabby. So they're quite linear, they're quite smooth. I'm just having to wait for a red light here. They're quite linear, they're quite smooth, they're not grabby, they're not sudden, and they seem to work very well together with the regen braking, obviously, that is also happening, especially in one pedal mode. Now talking of the one pedal mode, I will also mention that in normal use, I actually get used to one pedal modes quite quickly. I quite like them and I adapt to them quite quickly. But I'm always interested to see that how how linear they are, how smooth they are, particularly at the end, you know, because it's at the end where that becomes a little bit of a problem, because when you try and do slow speed maneuvers, say parking or going around a car park or something like that, then you need sort of very precise controls and inputs, and at that time sometimes the one pedal modes seem to feel a little bit sticky and not quite you know, as smooth as you'd want them to be. This has an element of that. It has a little bit of that at the sort of in the last, I would say, let's say last quarter of the pedal travel. Well, it's not really pedal travel, is it? Because it's just me lifting off. But if you see what I'm getting at, you know, it's that last quarter where, you know, you just think, oh, it could just be a little bit smoother there, and maybe not quite, and then abruptly stops, you know, sort of thing, you know. But overall, it's still fine. You still get used to it, and around town, it's very easy to use and not really a problem at all. And being a Volvo, of course, it's got all of the safety systems that you would expect. So all the collision avoidance, lane keep, all the rest of it. Basically, it's got everything that current cars have, plus more. It's a Volvo, I suppose, yeah. The other thing is I'm struggling with the seating on this car a little bit still. I know I spoke about that earlier, but still I am a little bit, I don't know, I feel like I'm sliding into the seats. It's very strange, you know, because Volvo are known for doing the best seats in the business. Volvos of old, is like they were right up there alongside like Mercedes. Like if you think of the best seats that the car business can give you, it's say Volvo. So I don't know why I'm struggling in this seat a little bit. Anyway, probably just me. Now I'm on one of the roads I use quite often, which is potentially one of the most bumpiest roads that I know. And the thing with electric cars, of course, as I've often said in the past, is I find that they're quite rigid because of the battery structure in the floor pan, if you like. There you go. And then, so a car that otherwise rides quite smoothly, and mostly so far this has been extremely smooth and I've been impressed with the ride, but over here I'm starting to get jolted around a little bit because this road is rough, but also because there's so little give in the suspension. Having said that, it's not that bad. It's not as bad as some of the dedicated electric cars, because again, don't forget that this is a car that also comes as a combustion engine car as well as an electric car. But you know, actually the ride comfort is pretty good on this car. So I would say 90% of the time it's very good. If you're going quicker on a road like that, then you will feel it. But don't go so quick, it's fine. And that's the thing about this car, because it's not really, it's not a sports car. It's not meant to be a sports car. It's meant to be a family car. And I think it's designed ideally for that. That's not to say that it's a slouch, and it's not to say that it can't, as you've seen, that I can't enjoy myself on the nice little B roads. But what it is to say is that it's not a sports car, and it's not pretending to be one. It's very honest about that, hence no modes, no sports mode or anything like that. So now then, how about the charge side of it? Well, I mean, it's been doing reasonably well, but I mean, I received it on 160 mile range. It's already down to 95, and I've probably only done about 30 miles or so. So how that mileage evaporated, although I'm saying that, but considering, you know, I've been driving a little bit hard just now. But having said that, when I started this drive, I was probably on 105 or something like that. So I've lost about a 10 mile range with my foot down. So having said that, that's not too bad compared to, oh gosh, wow. I mean, again, the turn, the grip around the corner, and it's very neutral attitude, which I guess is maybe something of a surprise with a high riding SUV. But really, you know, the poise is very good, the turning is very good, and it just keeps a very neutral attitude. Just when you expect it to understeer, but it doesn't quite. It's sort of, there's just a suggestion that it might be wanting to do that, but it doesn't do it. Again, the roads aren't too, they're a little bit slippery, but not too bad at the moment. So that might account for that sensation. But other than that, it's very good. So good road holding, good ride. Performance is more than you'll ever need in a car like this, which you inevitably are going to be driving around town most of its lifetime. Visibility at the back, like I said, it's a little bit of an issue, and there's big headrest there as well, as if, you know, the small window wasn't enough. But it's fine, because when you do need to reverse, you've got the massive 360 camera right there, which actually is a very high, seems to be quite a high resolution camera. Interesting thing, I've been struggling with this roof control mechanisms, because they're kind of touch control, and you kind of have to understand like how you slide them and stuff, because if you press them or if you don't slide them enough, then you end up opening the roof and stuff. And You have to get your head around it a little bit. Like with all modern cars these days, they have this sort of idiosyncrasies about how the operating systems actually work. Spec-wise, it's all good. The AC, the climate control has been working very well. The heated seats, heated steering is very nice. The stereo is fantastic on this thing. It's got a Harman Kardon 8-speaker system on this. Very good. Very crystal clear. I like the clarity of it. It's very nice, as well as obviously a decent amount of bass on it as well. So that's great. So coming back to, I'm just stopped at the light again. So coming back to the whole energy consumption, the range thing, it's interesting because when you go into the range assistant screen, it tells you the range, it tells you the maximum range. So it's interesting, isn't it? Because a lot of electric cars will give you a claim range, but they won't do it. This one is covering the whole range. So it's saying the maximum is 120, minimum is 65, and the middle bit, the average of that is 95. So that's what it's saying. It's giving you a consumption figure, but it's also telling you how you're using the energy. So there's a blue line for the speed. In this case, well, I've been driving around B roads, so I'm not actually going that fast, so that's way down. Driving style, it's about halfway. So that means, you know, I'm not as efficient as I could be if I was being a bit more light-footed. And climate control is about a third of the way. And again, the climate control is only on for heating a little bit, but not much. So again, that enables you to then make those adjustments if you need to on a longer run to, again, if you don't want to use the range optimizer, but you can go, let me ease off my driving style, or let me turn the climate control down. If you want to do it yourself, you can do it. So coming up to final thoughts on this car, and I think one of the interesting things about this car is the sense of automation, and I guess that's something they've taken from Tesla, and what Tesla do with their cars is there's so little that you have to do. You know, you don't have to turn on the lights, you know, I think the wipers I had to operate, but I'm sure there's an automatic mode for that as well. You know, the car will unlock and you can just touch the handle to lock it. It started, so like I said, buttock operated. The moment you put your backside down, the car is ready to go. And, you know, compared to how far we've come with older cars, that's extraordinary. But on the other hand, it's like, I always feel like, you know, I keep looking back at the car thinking, have I turned it off? Or should I turn it off? Or should I have done something? You know, have I locked it properly? Or what, you know, so it's all of that sort of stuff. But that's all something that obviously you will get used to when you live with the car. So there you go. Overall, it's very impressive, and it's yet another one of those cars. And I have to admit, I have tested. I said in another video recently, I probably tested more electric cars in this year alone, 2021, than I have in the entire 30-year career of testing cars. So, you know, and that's inevitable, really, as we are marching towards that 2030 deadline. This is yet another great offering. You don't really feel that compromise too much between it being a nice car and also offering a completely electric car, which is this version. So they seem to have made that compromise extremely well on this car. It's another one of those cars where I would say, yeah, you know, if an electric car is something that you can afford and that can fit into your lifestyle, i.e. you have somewhere that you can always keep it plugged in, so whether that is a facility in your residential area or whether you have a drive and you have your own home charger, then this makes perfect sense. And over the course of a year, it'll probably save you a load of money, but you know, that's offset against how much more money you're actually spending on it. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed that review. Let me know what you think of the car in the comments. Big shout out and thanks to Jay Williams over at Air Technic, who are my top tier sponsors. Check them out for exhaust, brakes, suspension, and even body kits. Also, much appreciation to my tier 4 sponsors, Muhammad Ali Ahmed and Tom Conway Gordon. And of course, all of these other guys who have joined me on Patreon. Without their support, I can't be creating the content that I am doing. Perhaps you can join them. Head over to patreon.com/browncarguy. Even if you can't do that, make sure you're subscribing and sharing this channel, which of course is youtube.com/browncarguy. Also subscribe to browncarguy.com and follow me on all the socials. Just search for my hashtag, which of course is #browncarguy.